through 3 games, maybe just from yesterday, whatever it is, what's the one thing you're just not certain about with this football team?
Well, I'm probably burying the lead here, but one of the things one of the things that I'm just not certain about is, kind of what is going on with Baker Mayfield in terms of who he is, what he is, and what is he going to be going forward. Okay. At this point, it almost seems like, they really are working around him a little bit instead of through him. They're not relying on him to make the huge play. They're not relying on him necessarily to pull out a game in the fourth quarter. And right now they don't have to. They don't have to do that. They've got their closers. They've got Nick. They've got Kareem. But there's going to come a day when you need your quarterback to go out there and put a game away. You need him to go out and win the football game for you. You're going to need him to make plays some better plays in the red zone. I still see him do some things in the red zone to me that are a little bothersome. He needs to show more in order to be that guy that is going to be your franchise quarterback and that you're going to want to say, you know what, let's pay him $40 million a year because we think that he can take us to the promised land. I don't know. I need to see more from Baker.
So I think this is a 50-hour discussion. I think it is a 100-part series. And I pretty much disagree totally with where you're going because I don't feel like Baker should be on the franchise quarterback clock, game to game, throw to throw, 3 games into his third year when he's in his first year with this head coach and this offense. And I also don't know that the only threshold for Baker in Cleveland is like, is he Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, right? That yeah, that's the dream. But if he's not that level, does that mean he's not the guy?
But let me ask you this, though. I understand what you're saying. And normally you wouldn't have to hold him to those kinds of standards, right? Because in this offense, I don't think you need to be a miracle worker. I think you can win games if you're a really good quarterback or above average quarterback. But the thing with Baker is that he is going to be due one of those blockbuster extensions pretty soon. So I do think they're going to be coming down to a decision-making time where they have to ask themselves, do we give him the going rate for a number 1 pick for your first round quarterback? Do we pay him that kind of money and make that kind of an investment, that huge, huge investment in him? Do we need to do that? Or can we get the same kind of production out of someone that's not going to cost us $42 million a year?
When do they have to make that decision?
They don't have to make it next year. Go ahead, Dan.
So he is eligible for his extension after year 3. And they have to make the decision on his 5th-year option next offseason. And that 5th-year option is essentially, I'd have to look up in the new CBA. It's essentially either the franchise tag value or the transition tag value based on kind of what he's accomplished. But so it's an expensive 5th-year option.
They don't have to make that decision after this season.
They do not have to extend him after this season, no. Ideally, you'd love to have that answer and be able to do it like the Texans did with Deshaun Watson and what we've seen with Mahomes. But no, that's not an absolute. It's not an absolute, but if you do go through this offseason and you haven't extended him, even if you pick up that 5th-year option, it's a little, if you're not talking extension with him this offseason, that kind of puts your cards on the table of what you think of him.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with that. This year is big in terms of deciding how you view him and how you really feel about him. And if you're not extending him this offseason and you're just kind of going into wait and see mode with him, then I think that's a huge statement and a huge pivotal moment in the franchise's quarterback history.
And then what if he's a lot better in year 4? And then you're like, oh, heck yeah, we're extending him.
Then you extend him.
Okay. That's like,
But-
I mean, the idea of, I just don't, and Mary Kay and Dan, you understand the contract ramification of this much better than I do. If the only decision is after this season, they either have to give him Patrick Mahomes money or say, you're not our guy. That's really the choice? Like,
it's basically after the third season, you really kind of know whether he's the guy that's going to take you to the next level, or maybe he's not that guy. And so I do think this whole 16 games will provide enough data that I think they're going to kind of know what they have in him.
But you don't think you would know more in year 2 in Stefanski's offense? You wouldn't say, listen, it was year 1. We've jerked this guy around. We changed the whole offense. We changed his footwork. We get, his first 2 years here were a mess. The idea of let's use year 4 to continue to gather data. That's not a possibility in the decision making?
I think it's a possibility, but I think, you're going to have an idea of what he is in this offense after this season. Is it going to be complete? Is it going to be graduate level? This is what Baker is in this offense? No, but I think you're going to have an idea of what he is in this offense.
Not every single game are you going to get 5 takeaways from your defense. Not every single game are you going to start drives at the 28, 24, 35, and 41 of the opposition. Not every single game can you count on the best defensive player on the other team leaving the game in the second quarter and not having a chance to wreck the game for you. It's just not always going to work quite like that. Not every game are you going to face an opposing quarterback who is throwing the football to your team almost more than he's throwing to his own team. So you can't count on things like this every week. Sometimes you're going to need Baker to be the guy that just plays really, really well. And I think he's going to get better in this offense. This offense is designed for quarterbacks to produce big numbers and play well and throw a lot of touchdowns and very few interceptions. Not every week are you going to have Odell Beckham Jr. be able to knock down a pick. Some days I think he's going to need to just step up and be amazing.